Hi, my name is Spencer, and I've been making iOS apps in my free time for the past 2 years, largely thanks to AI. Today, I'm starting a new app called Markdown Voice Memos. Don't judge it too hard, this is only version 1. But when I first started, I always wished there were tutorials and real life examples of people using AI tools to build apps. So I figured, why not be the one to make the videos that I wish existed back when I first started? So the first step is always for me to find a reference. I am a huge fan of the native iOS Voice Memos app, but I feel as if it's kind of been left behind. One of the best features came out in iOS 18, and that is the ability to have a transcript and to be able to click around on that transcript. That's currently an API that developers can access, so that's fantastic. But the main thing I don't like is the way it titles all the recordings. Sometimes it titles the recording based off of the location you're at, and sometimes it doesn't work. For myself, I would love for the recording to be titled based off a summary of the transcript, which based on my research is something you can do with Apple Foundation. So that's what we're going to be building for the core of our app. To start off, I usually take a bunch of notes of what my dream list would be for the app. First off, it's going to be auto naming with Foundation's model. Second is going to be able to save the transcript to a Markdown file. I also want the user to be able to save their voice recordings natively to other parts of their phone or maybe even on their iCloud, so they can, or at least in my case, automatically import them to Obsidian because I'm a huge Obsidian user. I also want them to be able to have Siri shortcuts, and I want them to be able to assign a start and stop recording to the action button. Apple's native voice recording app can be assigned to the action button, and that's fantastic. I don't know how far we can do with third-party apps. I also want to be able to record. I know there's an API where you can record both the sound that's coming out of the iPhone as well as the actual audio from the microphone. So I'd love for that to be a setting. I want to use live activities to the extent possible. And of course, I want to do mono, stereo, and spatial audio. So next up, what I'll usually do is I'll start with ChatGPT. I'll just ask some basic questions here. I'm asking about core audio or about Swift data, or correction, core data or Swift data. What looks best for iOS 26 going forward? I'll ask some basic stuff. I'll look for, here I was asking about live activities and what live activities are available for iOS apps for third-party developers. I'll also just make sure that the feature that I'm looking for is not already available. One of the main features of this app, and I'm probably going to call it Markdown Voice Memos, is the ability to export it and have that automatically, not to have to, hit transcribe and then copy and paste it and export the file. I just want it to be all automatic and simple. As soon as I hit record and I hit stop recording, I want it to all just work in the background. Sometimes I'll ask it for example apps just to see if somebody else has an app that I could use, oftentimes use it, but a lot of times that app gets disqualified from my life because it's a subscription only app. This app in particular that I want to build will most likely be paid, but it will be a lifetime purchase or it will be a subscription. I think a subscription is good if you want to try something out, but there should always be a lifetime purchase if you're not actively using an API that the developer has to pay for. And that's why I want to build it on the Foundation model, because that's available to all newer iPhones. Next up, what I'll do is I'll usually go onto the Apple developer website, and I'll usually go to develop, and I'll start usually with videos. I find that's kind of the easiest. That's where Apple starts to show off their latest developments. So I've already found a couple. I've watched this video. This is about their new speech analyzer API. It's absolutely fantastic. If we actually click on, this is a framework that they're talking about. So I'll copy and paste this in later. As you'll see, here's an example app, which I've downloaded and I've reviewed the code with Claude. Here's foundation models. There's another great video. The other thing I want to say is on these videos, I always download the transcripts. So I'll download the transcripts and I'll download the code, and I'll give that to the AI to kind of research and learn about. Here's another foundations model video. This is a spatial audio app that Apple talks about in one of their WWDC 25 sessions. It's a great little starting point that I will end up using as well. And of course, I want to add a recording with AirPods. I'll actually go ahead and add this to my Obsidian. That way I can kind of keep track of what I want. So the next step is, of course, to open up Xcode. We'll create a new project. For myself, it's going to be an iOS app. I'm going to call it Markdown Voice Memos, Swift UI, Swift. On testing, I'll get into Swift data is what I want to use. I'll go ahead and create that, and I'll do it inside this folder I already made, and I'll do the repository. And here we are. As far as getting into AI, recently I've been using Claude 4, so I'll probably stick with that. I have currently a Claude Max subscription, the $100 one, and I also have a OpenAI ChatGPT Codex subscription, the $20 one. I've kind of find that is the best combo. I used to have the $200 Claude one, and then they absolutely nuked Opus, so I no longer use that. But personally, I will use Droid. And with Droid, I will probably switch my model to probably Think Harder just for now to kind of get everything established. And then I'll use Mac Whisper, which is a great voice tool. And I will do this. So I want you to help me plan a iOS app. Is very similar to the native Voice Memos app, but it has a few other key elements to it. Number one, there's going to be integration with the Foundations model, which is iOS 26 and newer exclusively. And there's going to be an ability for when the user records a voice memo, it auto transcribes and exports to a Markdown file in the background. I also want the user to be able to save their voice memos anywhere on the iPhone, whether it's in the documents, the app documentation, or app documents, or if it's in iCloud or wherever they choose. And I want to be using iOS 26 APIs such as Speech Analyzer, and I will provide you a bunch of documentation. I want you to just think hard, read all this documentation, report back if you have questions. I'll add in all of these examples that Apple's given us. All right, so there it goes. This will probably take a few minutes, I would say, because we're on Think Harder mode with Sonnet 4.5. I'm actually going to go back to my iPhone, and I'm going to take some screenshots of the native voice recorder app because I think it's quite nice. All right, so the model has given us an initial plan, which I have overlooked, and it looks pretty good. I just want to give it the reference files for our screenshots that we took. So we'll take this. One thing that with AI is sometimes it'll run away with ideas and it'll kind of go too far. So one thing I want to explain to them is please use the reference files whenever possible. If you have questions, please let me know. As far as multiple language support, we are only going to do English for now and whatever is available in Apple Foundations model. Spatial audio support will be great, but we can also do that at a later time. For right now, let's just focus on mono or stereo. We do not care about manual transcript editing. Additional AI features, not right now. The only main thing is a setting that allows the user to toggle it on or off, that allows a summary of the transcript to be used to generate a title for the file. A Markdown export will have that as a setting as automatic or manual. And default location should just be the app documents folder, and we can go from there and allow the user to set it in the settings. There's my answer to all their questions. I'm just going to wait for this model to come back in regards to the pictures. All right, so it finally finished. It looks like it has an updated plan. We're going to navigate to no, keep on with the spec build because we're still planning. And it looks like it actually gave me code, which is good. It looks like layout wise, it's taking the screenshots pretty good. This is kind of weird though. Purple gray. All right, we'll see about that. But the basic part is we just want to get a basic app going. So let me just submit this. So here I said, first off, we just want to get a basic recording app set up with playback, and we can integrate the other features as we go. I don't want the model to get too, I'm not trying to one-shot this. And so here's our final plan that they have put together for us. The one thing that just came to mind that I didn't think about was permissions. So just want to make sure they mention permissions somewhere in here. Okay, here they are. Here's the permissions that are needed. I'm going to go ahead and keep on iterating. Interesting. So there it's going to be able to use some code we're using from the samples, 20 from UI adaptation and markdown and storage. And I always say this, make a to-do list and build with Xcode and terminal. I think that's good. So we'll go ahead and turn off. We'll cycle to, I go to high, allow all commands. I just hit that and I let it start thinking. We'll be able to watch. One thing I do in Xcode is I'll just go to my uncommitted changes. It actually looks, oh, these are all the files that and this is our initial files that we made. But it'll start to plan. Looks like it's doing 10. And yeah, it's just doing the basic MVP of basic recording and playback. And that's it. I'll check back when it's done. So we finished. It looks like it's run all the commands. Looks like it didn't change very much, but the first thing is I always run it on a simulator. So if we'll just do an iPhone, yeah, let's just do an iPhone 17. Do a clean build. Sometimes I'll run it on a physical device, especially if I'm developing a camera app. You kind of have to run it on a physical device, but for something like this where you can actually run it on a simulator, I'll oftentimes run it on a simulator. There's also an MCP that I'll sometimes use. It's very, very heavy. It uses a lot of space, but this is fantastic. Okay, so we got recordings new. It's kind of like a double button, I assume. Everything's running, which is awesome. So we'll go ahead and hit record. Hasn't asked me for permission yet, so it should ask right here. Yep, it would like to ask for permission. Hello, this is a test. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, time goes away. Save it. Let's see if we can play back. I'm not sure. All right, so playback doesn't work. So we'll take a screenshot, feed this to the AI. And honestly, it's a pretty good first step. I'm very, very happy with that. I mean, it's so basic. We're only at 12 minutes on how long we've been working on this project, which is super easy. Sometimes the screenshots, you have to let them save to the desktop. So fixing the playback logic, files not visible, new file sharing, so recordings appear in a files app. Okay. I want to go ahead and commit first. It's always important. It sounds basic, but it's important to remember that commits are free, and AI makes so many mistakes that a commit can absolutely save you from something bad. So we'll go ahead and commit here, and then I'm going to run it again in the simulator to see what we get. I also asked it to add some logs so we could figure out what's going on with playback and why it's not working. Go ahead and build one more time because of that. All right, our commit happened. We can look here at our repository. Check our branch. We're on main right now. Here's our commit with everything we just added. All right, back to the simulator. All right, so we got positive CPU usage, positive memory usage, so our app is working. Go ahead and hit record. We'll try a new recording just to see if it works. Hello, my name is Spencer. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit done. Save. Get it saved. Let's go ahead and try playback. Playback failed. Okay. Recorded successfully. Granted. Looks like it's saving it to our application. So what I often do, these are short enough logs. Copy. Paste. In card and read these. All right, issue looking at the ID. When saving, it's saving here. When playing back, it's playing back a different file, different application IDs. The iOS simulator changes the app's container IDs to the absolute URL stored in Swift data becomes invalid. Stores only the file name instead of the full URL, then reconstructs the document path at runtime. Maybe it's a simulator issue, and if so, we've got a phone that we can test on as well. We'll do it wirelessly, so I've got an iPhone 15 Pro. And I will choose it from here. And there it goes. All right, we'll do a new recording. Make sure GPU is coming up, or CPU, excuse me. Allow. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if that's going to save because as you see, I created 2 files. Interesting. All right, so it says starting. Let's try a new one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so still failed to load. So let's go ahead and play it back. Get the errors. Still not working. Here are the logs. I know that I have a reference app, so I'm going to get that reference app, which is And that should be enough data for the AI to figure out what's wrong. All right, so this is a great example. So it's using Apple's sample code to fix this. If you have any sample code, either from other projects that you do or from GitHub or Apple sample code, it's a fantastic starting point, and it really helps for the AI not to run in circles. We're using M4A extension, but writing raw audio format. Let's fix this by using a CAF, a core audio format that supports any audio format. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7. Wow, that's fantastic. All right, so we have playback, so we'll go ahead and commit. That is absolutely amazing. We don't know if the audio file type is correct. Let's see if we can actually open the Files app and see our files. That would be important as well. So note, we don't have our app settings set up. We'll have to set that up at a later time. So the next thing I would do, now that we have the app running and the audio recording and the audio playing back, is I would actually move out of Factory AI and open up just a normal Claude Code tab. Claude, and I use skip all permissions because that's just a little easier for me. And then we want to initiate the project or initialize the project. And now that we have the structure of the app laid out, this is when this will actually be helpful. If we would have done this at the very beginning with just the generic project, there would have been no use for it because we hadn't shaped any of the code. So we'll let this run for a little bit. All right, so Claude Code has finished implementing a claude.md file. We can see it here. We'll just review it real quick to make sure. So iOS voice recording app built with Swift UI and Swift data. Perfect. Interesting. iOS 17. That doesn't matter. Let's add in that we are iOS 26 minimum. Interesting. It says this, so we'll go ahead and it says it's got unused. Let's clean this up. So we'll let that clean up those few code files that are no longer needed. We can go here and we'll see it update here in commit, and then we'll go ahead and commit. Our next step, and I'll use voice recording. So the next thing to implement in our app is transcription support for iOS 26. Please read these files, read this transcript, and implement a working example. It should automatically transcribe as soon as the user saves the file. If possible, we should show the transcription on screen as the user is recording. Think hard. I'm going to copy this one again and think hard. So now we're getting at this data. We can close out of Claude Code. Now we're just back to Droid, and we'll see what it says. All right, so the build's finishing up here. It's just updating the Claude MD file to show everything that's happening, and we can go ahead and clean and build. So let's see what it did. Real-time transcription during recording with live updates, automatic transcription when saving records. Volatile results shown in lighter text during recording. Great job. Final results automatically replaced with volatile text. Persistent storage. Okay, okay. On device processing. That's what matters the most. Let's see what this guy does. That took 6 minutes, 55 seconds. All right. We're loaded. Memory's working. Want to allow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot of that because we're not seeing any text going on. In our logs, we're seeing locale not supported, English US, local not supported, transcript said it failed, local not supported. Does not work on iOS simulator. All right. Better yet, we'll just plug in the iPhone. This is a iPhone 15 Pro Max, so it's a little older, which I always love to develop with because a new phone is nice and fast. An older phone that might have an older processor, or in this case, less memory, is sometimes better. And all right, it's going to ask for speech recognition. All right, this is a test to see how this is working. I don't see any text popping up. Oh, there it is right there. But I do see a little area where it could be getting better. Wow, this is a lot of text on the log, but that's pretty cool that it's showing that. All right, we'll go ahead and save. There's the transcription. Let's see if it plays back and if it highlights. I didn't tell it to highlight when it plays back, but you never know. All right, this is a test to see how this is working. I don't see any text popping up. All right, so it doesn't highlight when we play back, but that's amazing that we have that done. And yeah, it works. So we'll go ahead and commit. So this is part one. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to beta test this app as I build it, you can check out this QR link here, or you can also check out the link below. Just fill out the Google form and I'll be sending out invites. If you also want to see the next step in the process for building this app, you can check it out here. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions, leave them below.